afternoon. My name is Doug Kress, and I'm the coordinator of the Great Apes Survival Partnership, or GRASP. And I welcome you today to join us for another in our series of GRASP webcasts, The Experts Speak. Today we'll be discussing the World Great Apes Day petition that is currently coming to the fore. And we have some experts with us who will help us understand the complexity and the importance of the United Nations level designation for World Great Apes Day. We're joined today by Mr. Dampa Almami, who is Senior Policy Officer in the Rural Economy and Agricultural Division of the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa. Good afternoon, Mr. Almami.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. We also have Mr. Dmitry Kornilov, who works with me at the Great Apes Survival Partnership and is the program officer charged with facilitating passage of the World Great Apes Day petition. In less than 2 weeks' time, the 71st United Nations General Assembly will convene in New York City to consider and vote on a number of resolutions and declarations and motions that will impact the world going forward. Among those motions and declarations and resolutions will be the World Great Apes Day petition. This will seek to have the United Nations declare 9th of September as World Great Apes Day in honor of chimpanzees, gorillas, bonobos, and orangutans. This petition was drafted by the Republic of Sierra Leone, which has asked the Great Apes Survival Partnership to help facilitate the process and bring it to a vote before the General Assembly. There are a number of issues to consider in gaining passage of a United Nations level day, and it seems sometimes as if there are 1 million days declared by the United Nations. In fact, there are 130 currently, and many are held on the same days. Only 84 calendar days actually have a UN level day declared. Some of them are quite momentous. The 18th of July is Nelson Mandela Day. The 4th of February is World Cancer Day. 21st of March is International Day of Forests. 7th of April, World Health Day. And the 1st of December is World AIDS Day. But there are some days that might be considered frivolous too. There's a World Jazz Day, a World Toilet Day, a World Yoga Day, and a World No Tobacco Day. But each of these days had a champion. Each of these days carried the necessary majority votes to be passed by the UN General Assembly. And that is exactly where we find ourselves now with the World Great Apes Day petition. It seeks to honor great apes for a variety of reasons. Their similarity to human beings, their status as an iconic flagship species, the fact that they are so intelligent, they share DNA to a 98th or 99th percentile with human beings. They have tremendous value in terms of economy, tourism, and that they are also deeply embroiled in the illegal wildlife trade as targets. I would like to turn just briefly to Mr. Kornilov. Dmitry, this process at its core is political, and I'm curious, in the time you've been working on this project, which is now over a bit over a year, how political has it been?
Well, absolutely. The whole process was much more complex than we could have imagined. And as we know, the United Nations is a political organization, and all the issues which have been covered by the UN are political. And because the proposed World Great Apes Day is a UN day, so definitely it's a political issue. And it's a complicated, multidimensional process. It must be noted that despite the fact that in its nature the proposal is environmental, it is the diplomats and other senior officials who have to make the decision on that in the United Nations General Assembly, and they normally have a different overview of the things. So we have to relate the World Great Apes Day to other issues, mostly economic, to make it have a global impact. And as I have already mentioned, it's a multidimensional process. apart from working with individual states, it's also about understanding the relationships between different states and interconnectedness. It is also the work with the regional organizations such as the African Union and the Association of the Southeastern Nations, ASEAN, and also the Group of 77. And it's also about the examining the influence of those regional organizations on the decisions adopted by individual partner states. Yeah.
There are a number of supporters that have signed on to promote this World Great Apes Day petition in the run-up process to a vote. Some of them, many of them are national governments. Many of them are United Nations level agencies or major corporations such as Unilever and the World Tourism Organization. Some are celebrities such as Richard Branson and Ted Turner, comedian Ricky Gervais, or singer Peter Gabriel. It seems to strike a lot of chords, but none of them have votes, and the votes come down to the national governments. And that's where this petition has received a great deal of support from national governments. Governments of Liberia, of Congo, of Indonesia have given very clear and emphatic support. And one of the greatest champions of this petition is the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, who declared a year ago at the gorilla naming ceremony that he would support World Great Apes Day and would be a champion for it. There are 21 countries in Africa that have great apes naturally. Therefore, this clearly must be at its core a Pan-African debate or a Pan-African issue. I'd like to turn now to Mr. Albani from the African Union Commission and to find out how this perhaps fits into the broader initiatives of the African Union in terms of perhaps strategy on illegal wildlife trade, community engagement, or perhaps other issues that are central to the African Union mission.
Thank you very much. I think this issue of the World Great Apes Day is very important to the African Union because, as we said, the great apes are found in about 21 African countries. This is quite a huge number of countries, and obviously in politics numbers matters. You know, at the UN General Assembly, where it is these countries, as we said, that will be voting. So numbers here account a lot. And then we are very happy that the African countries are part of that, part of the struggle, part of the initiative to have this important day in order to safeguard for the future the great apes, and then the habitats, the ecology, the ecosystems, the services, the jobs they create, the economies they support. These are all important to Africa. So I think designating the World Great Apes Day at the UN level, which is the highest international level in terms of visibility, I think this is going to be a big triumph for Africa and the rest of the world. For Africa and then for AU, for that matter, we will be very great to be part of this celebration, and then we'll be very happy to see that the UN General Assembly endorsed 9th September as the World Great Apes Day.
Great, thank you very much. You've mentioned a number of reasons why World Great Apes Day might be important, and as my colleague Dmitry Kornilov pointed out, the economic value of great apes is one that is hard to deny. In East Africa, for instance, each gorilla in Uganda is responsible for approximately $1 million a year in gorilla-related tourism revenue. That's over $400 million coming in each year to Uganda. In Rwanda, it was over $300 million in 2014. That economic force, I think, is something that it seems the African Union takes very seriously as well. I'm joined by Teleshore Ngoga from Rwanda, Trans-Frontier Conservation Committee, the Rwandan Development Board. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
Great.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to our webcast. We're currently discussing some of the issues around the World Great Apes Day petition that will be put to the UN General Assembly in about 2 weeks as part of the vote going forward. And we were just discussing that your president, Mr. Paul Kagame, has been a very vocal champion in support of this petition, in general as well, for gorilla conservation and ecotourism. I'd like to ask you, how important are great apes to Rwanda in terms of culture and economy and political significance?
Yeah, I can say in a word that gorilla conservation is very important for our economy. And if you remember, our President Paul Kagame has supported in public the establishment of the World Great Apes Day. It was at the occasion of the annual public gorilla naming ceremony. And as I speak, I'm at Kinigi, where we have the gorilla naming ceremony organized, and tomorrow we have our 12th gorilla naming ceremony. Gorilla conservation is important for us to keep these surviving gorillas. As you know, we have about 900 individuals remaining in the world, individuals of mountain gorilla, and this is very important. Important again is that our tourism is the key pillar, one of the key pillars of our economy in Rwanda. And for information, tourism has come as the first foreign currency earner for the last 6 years. It's very important, and gorilla tourism takes bigger part, more than 70% of what we collect from the tourism in general. So it's important for a country like Rwanda, which doesn't much of other traditional resources that other countries have. So we put a great importance to conservation, not just for tourism, but also to have these species, wildlife conserved for the future generations.
Great, thank you very much. This, as was pointed out by Mr. Almami and by yourself as well, this is an issue that matters greatly to African nations. There have not been many United Nations days that were supported heavily or proposed by African nations. Most came from European, North American, even some Latin American countries. Not very many came from African nations. I'm curious, Mr. Almami, does this mean more as a result, where you have an issue that binds together African nations through the African Union, or just collectively as a Pan-African movement? Does it mean more somehow?
That I can say that the declaration by our president was significant. Was a public address that was addressed to the entire world, that Rwanda supports the establishment of World Great Apes Day. So it was following the petition from Sierra Leone. So it's a declaration, a presidential declaration. It's a commitment from the country, and for us, we know how important this is. And on behalf of my country, we urge all other countries to support that declaration.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Almami, I'd like the same question to you. Does this mean more, perhaps, given that it is a Pan-African initiative that has support and potential support of so many African nations?
Yes, I think you are quite right. This day is very significant to Africa, And then, as you rightly said, there are not many days that are specific to Africa. Of course, we have the World AIDS Day, which is very important for Africa. But I think this equally is also an important day for Africa. So therefore, Africa should be, in fact, would be pushing. I mean, as a force in getting this to be endorsed by the UN General Assembly. And in fact, just like what I said before, we have also outfit offices in New York. We have AU office in New York, and then this is where most of the, when you have the UN General Assembly meetings, we normally facilitate meetings of the African ambassadors accredited to the UN in New York. So that is another possibility. You know, I think we have to move all stone around really to mobilize all necessary forces, build all the necessary partnership to really make sure that this time really is our chance to have this endorsed by the General Assembly. So it is of particular importance to Africa.
Great, thank you. Dimitri, I'd like to turn back to you for a moment. You've had dozens and dozens of meetings here in Nairobi and elsewhere with embassies, high commissions, world leaders. I'm curious, what has been the general response you get from proposals regarding the World Great Apes petition?
Well, generally there has been a very positive response from most of the countries. Most of the governments view it as a really good way forward, a good platform for South-South cooperation and for exchanging the conservation experience and bringing up some other related issues. So, yeah, generally the response was very good. And I could say that even within African Union, the World Great Apes Day is viewed as an element of the implementation strategy, Pan-African strategy for combating illegal wildlife trade and other types of wildlife crime on the continent. So I believe that we are moving forward here.
I think just to add there, and then also to support my brother from Kigali, you know, the gorilla tourism, unlike the safari tourism in Kenya or Tanzania, is more environment friendly. And then imagine, you know, look at the dollar per head of gorilla is very high. So I mean, we have huge amount of money at a very minimal environmental impact. You know, you would cause a lot of environmental degradation if you want to generate the same the similar amount of revenue from, you know, per head in Tanzania or in Kenya. You know, so gorilla tourism, of course, I think is a high value tourism. You know, which really makes it very important for countries like Uganda and Rwanda. So therefore, we are in total support of that.
Great, thank you. It's worth noting that of all the 130 days that have been declared by the United Nations to honor different individuals or actions or issues, only 2 relate in any way to wildlife. One is World Wildlife Day, which is every March 3rd. There's also World Migratory Bird Day. It would only be the 3rd day, therefore, to actually honor species specifically. So there is a gap there. There is room to grow. I'm curious, Dimitri, I want to ask you again. This will go now in mid-September to the UN General Assembly to be placed in the agenda. How long before a vote would come up on this particular issue? Any idea?
Next week I'm traveling to New York to have a number of meetings with the key delegates to the upcoming UN General Assembly. And with a joint effort, we are planning to put it on the petition on vote, let's say in early October. And as Mr. Almami has already mentioned, there's African ambassadorial group, which is in close communication with the African Union's office in New York. We're also going to explore that opportunity and to increase support within the African states under the umbrella of the African Union.
Great. Thank you very much. We're close to the end of our time now. I look forward to 2017, I suppose, when we'll all be celebrating World Great Apes Day on the 9th of September. And that date, it's worth pointing out, was selected because on the 9th of September in 2005, more than 50 nations of the world signed the Kinshasa Declaration on Great Apes. And that was a statement of commitment to the conservation of great apes and their habitat in Africa and Asia. And therefore that date remains important in the global conservation effort towards preserving chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and bonobos. With that in mind, I'd like to thank our guests today for joining us. We had Mr. Damfa Almami, Senior Policy Officer for the Rural Economy and Agricultural Division of the African Union Commission. We had Mr. Teleshore Ngoga, part of the Transfrontier Conservation Committee, the Rwandan Development Board. And we had Mr. Dmitry Kornilov, who is leading the World Great Apes Day facilitation process, or steering it through the General Assembly, working here at the United Nations in Nairobi, Kenya, with us at the Great Ape Survival Partnership. To thank all of our guests today for joining us on this GRASP webcast, The Experts Speak, and we look forward to coming to you again next month on an important issue related to great apes and their conservation. Thank you very much.